Thank you guys for coming out. It's finally here. You know, it's what I told the guys this morning. You spent an awful lot of time to get ready for game week, and now game week is finally upon us. And so we're excited. We're excited for this week. We're excited for this opportunity. I think we've had a really, really good fall camp. Happy with the progress that we've made across the board. Happy with where our team is from a health standpoint going into this week to get ready for this opener. I think we've gotten a lot done in terms of becoming more physical, getting better, improving, but also, getting our guys to this week healthy and ready to roll. And so excited with how that all worked out. I think from our standpoint, our focus is real simple. We want to be able to go out and play our best football Saturday night. And, what we talk to our guys about, I think this is really important when you're playing a game like this. The focus has to be on all the little details from today through Saturday that give us the opportunity to go out Saturday night and perform like we want to. And the challenge I laid on them was go out there every day and outwork Notre Dame. Someone on Monday is going to prepare better than the other team. Someone on Tuesday is going to prepare better. Someone's going to hydrate better. Someone's going to eat better. All those little things you can do to give yourself an advantage to go out Saturday night and be successful, we have to do, because you can't over prepare. Right? That's not something that exists. You can't be too ready for the opener. And so that's the challenge. We've got to go out and have a great week of practice. We had a good Monday morning this morning as we switched to kind of a morning schedule. So we got our Monday morning in this morning. We got 3 more days to go out and prepare and practice. And we'll go out Saturday and really be fired up for what should be a tremendous Saturday afternoon in Bryan College Station with ESPN Game Day here, and then an electric Saturday night in Kyle Field. As we transition to Notre Dame and just kind of talking about them and their team, obviously a lot of respect for Marcus Freeman. Him and I have known each other for a long time, going back to our days in the MAC when he was at Kent State and I was at Bowling Green, and we would cross paths in recruiting. And so defensive guys tend to follow each other in this profession. And so, certainly have watched him and watched his defense over the years, and he's a tremendous head coach. Offensively, last year they were the 7th ranked scoring offense in the country. They went out in the offseason, they hired Mike Denbrock, who was the leader of the #1 total offense and scoring offense in the country. And so we expect them to be extremely prolific on that side of the ball. It starts with the quarterback, who I have some familiarity with, obviously Riley Leonard and everything that he brings to the table, but a true dual threat quarterback, I think, who can hurt you both with his arm and with his legs. And so he presents a huge challenge. In the backfield, they have always had a lot of running backs and always been able to roll through guys. Jeremiah Love steps in this year to be the guy, but we anticipate that being a group of guys that roll back there like it kind of always has been. Similar to us, they've kind of revamped the wide receiver room a little bit with some guys that have really stepped up in their program with some additions of transfers. And so I think one of the unique things as you're watching film on openers, you're watching film from about 8 different colleges as you get ready for this offense. You got Duke film on there, you got FIU film on there, you got Clemson film on there, you got Notre Dame film, you got LSU film. It's one of the unique things about going through these openers. And then at tight end, Mitchell Evans is a kid that I have a lot of respect for. He really had a huge game in Durham last year against us at Duke, and really a dual threat kid, can hurt you in the run game, but can really get open and separate in the pass game. And their offensive line has been kind of the blood of their program forever, the lifeline of their program forever. And so we certainly expect them to come out and be really competitive on that area of the field as well. Defensively, they were elite last year. They were a top 10 defense in scoring and total defense. They bring back a huge part of that group. I think on the defensive front is where it starts. And certainly Howard Cross, being a New Jersey guy, kind of always gains some respect for me. But he plays the game the way you want to. Him and Riley Mills kind of anchor the center of that defense. The other guy on the edge who people haven't talked about as much, R.J. Oben, is also a kid who started for me 2 years at Duke. Really electric pass rusher and brings a lot of value in that area. They've kind of revamped the linebacker group, but Jack Kaiser will kind of anchor that. And Jack's been around for a long time, played a lot of football. We kind of recruited him for a little bit when I was here as a defensive coordinator, and so have been familiar with him for a long time. He's a great player. And then I think they're really elite in the secondary. I think Benjamin Morrison's one of the best corners in the country. And then I think Xavier Watts was an All-American last year and is really a ball hawk and can go out and find the ball. And so it's a big challenge. It's a challenge that we'll be ready for and we'll be excited for. And from there, I'll kind of open it up to questions.
Down front, Brent. You said defensive guys tend to follow each other. When you were a young person, I know you played on that side of the ball, but when did you start really developing that passion for defense and then realizing, hey, I might be coaching this side of the ball as well?
Yeah, it's funny. So my first job, I actually got hired to be the GA coaching wide receivers at Stony Brook. And I went out there, and then right before the season started, they were like, yeah, you're going to coach linebackers. And it was literally about a week before the season started. And so I've been on the defensive side of the ball my whole career. And so I think that's probably where, just kind of was what it was by nature. I think probably going through it, always kind of, the coolness of being the offensive coordinator and designing the plays and the schemes and all of that stuff, I think probably as a younger kid was more where I felt like it was going to go. But as I actually got into coaching, it just kind of was defense the whole way through.
Second row on the left, Alex, and then David.
I guess it's just kind of the nature of where college football's at now, but how interesting is it that, you are facing your quarterback from last year here in the season opener, and you set a guy you're pretty familiar with?
Yeah, I think it's interesting and weird and not really something I want to do, and but at the end of the day, it's kind of part of the game. And so obviously got a tremendous amount of respect for who he is, not just as a player, but also as a young man and his family and all of that. And so, it'll be 3 hours competing against each other and the rest of the year rooting for him.
Second row on the right, David, and then Olin.
Mike, you alluded to it a moment ago, but just how difficult has your job become, and all coaches in college football, with all these changes where you are looking at 8 different types of film? It's hard to predict what Denbrock wants to do with Riley and as you get ready for this one.
Yeah, I think in an opener, it's always challenging. I think you've got to, create a plan on both sides of the ball that has enough versatility because you're going to have to adapt. You can't walk into, you go into week 10 and you can kind of talk in certainties. You go into week 1 and you're really not talking in any certainties. Everything you're talking is, I think, maybe could look like this. You do the best you can to come up with the best guesses you can make on what it will be and what it'll be about. But I think you have to be very flexible with the plans you create because you got to be ready to adjust. The whole opener is about adjustments and what you can do and what you can adjust on the fly to give yourself the best opportunity as the game goes on to kind of feel how it's going and be able to have practiced enough and be prepared enough that you can go in the direction you need to go to be successful.
Second row on the right, Olin, then we'll go to the left.
Yeah, Mike, in your season at Notre Dame, did you ever get the sense that when you were playing a team that it meant, to borrow the SEC phrase, it meant more, to that team when they were playing Notre Dame that it was like their biggest game, or is that mystique thing maybe a little overbilled?
Well, man, that's a loaded question, OB, because I don't know that I can answer that one right. I have a lot of respect for the brand that Notre Dame is. I think it's an iconic brand. I think it's recognizable across the country for sure. I don't know that for us this is necessarily tremendous excitement because it's Notre Dame. I think it's tremendous excitement because we're playing a national brand who's ranked 7th in the country in our home opener with a lot of eyes on the game. And so I think from that perspective, that's kind of how I think it's viewed.
Front left, Cease, and then Battalion right next.
Actually, my question's along that same line. Your time at Notre Dame, what impressed you most about their program? We hear a lot about Notre Dame, but you were there, the fan base, the program. What impressed you most when you left there, took from that?
Yeah, I think just the history and tradition around it. I think being a sports fan growing up, being a kid who has always followed college football, it's one of those programs that when you walk in the building, there's so much history and tradition in that building. When you're seeing the Four Horsemen and you're seeing some of the old Heisman Trophy winners and some of the old memories, it's one of the more tradition-rich programs in the country.
Stay on the left, front row, Battalion.
Hi, Mr. Elko. I'm Shalina Sabi with the Battalion, and I know you mentioned that Notre Dame was part of the top 10 defense last year. So going based off of that, how is offense going to implement all 3 backs against one of the better run defenses in college football?
Yeah, I think that'll be one of the challenges within this game. I think they don't give you a lot of soft surfaces to run the football. I think we're going to have to find some. We're going to have to make some with our offensive line. We're going to have to make some with our tailbacks. We've challenged them that's going to be the game a little bit. Some teams play you in these soft boxes where you have a lot of run angles. Notre Dame won't for the majority of the night, and so we're going to have to get creative in how we create opportunities for our backs to get some space and get going.
Third row on the right, Christy.
So since you've been hired, you've spent months putting together your team, getting it ready, talking about the team. Now that it's, almost your official debut as the coach, what are your feelings and emotions? How are you feeling this week now that it's here?
Yeah, so it's funny. I was thinking back through this a little bit. There will be a moment walking down the tunnel for sure where it hits you, kind of where you are and where you've gotten to in life. I think that will certainly be a little bit of a surreal feeling following the drums down the tunnel onto Kyle Field for the first time. Outside of that, it's really, you're just focused on helping these guys get the result that they want, right? It's about trying to find every angle you can, every little detail you can to pour into this game plan to give them the best chance to be successful. And you really don't have a lot of time as a coach to just kind of sit back and think about those types of things. It's literally just head down and go. But I'd be lying if I didn't say there'll be something a little special when you're walking down the tunnel for the first time.
Third row on the left, Mark.
Coach, you were talking about Riley and playing him and the offense that they've implemented. Obviously, it's going to be really different from what you guys had at Duke. Knowing his instincts and what he likes to do, is that still something that is an asset to you as you go into game planning?
No, I would argue that he has more of an upper hand than we do because he's probably a little bit more familiar with this defense than most quarterbacks we play. And not that it's the exact defense we ran at Duke. It's obviously blended together with what we've done and with what Coach Bateman brings to the table. But I think we don't have a ton of comfort as a program going against this offense. We haven't defended it for a single snap. I think 2 years going against some version of this defense that's similar to what he'll see Saturday night probably gives him a little bit more of an advantage than it does us.
Far right side, Coach Chip.
Mike, what are the pluses and the minuses of playing a season opener against a top 10 caliber team?
Yeah, I think the pluses are the attention you have of your players for the last 8 months. I think when you have this type of game, the sense of urgency you have in a preparation standpoint, the sense of urgency we had in training camp, you'd like to say that's because of the coaches, but I'm certain that the opener plays a huge role in that, and then we did. We had a really good training camp. I thought the kids were really locked in and focused, and I think that's probably the pluses of it. Obviously, the negative of it is it's an opener, and when you have an opener and you're playing a game that's going to be very competitive, there's not tremendous margins, and you're going to have to come out of the tunnel opening night and execute at a really high level. You're going to have to play penalty-free football. You're going to have to play turnover-free football. You're not going to have a lot of time to ease into this new program, these new systems that we're running. You're going to have to go out there opening night, and they're going to have to be firing on all cylinders. And so, that is obviously the challenge we had to take on, and I think we've done it to the best of our ability.
Coach back behind the lights on the left, Tyler.
Coach, during camp, you talked about, the defensive line of this team and the offensive line that has, had to, maybe play catch up. On their side, they've had a lot of injuries. The offensive line, their defensive line has been a strength for them last year. So how much, I guess, are those matchups on the lines of scrimmage going to be, critical in this game?
Yeah, I think they're critical in every game. I think, the way you control the line of scrimmage dictates game flow so much. If you can win the line of scrimmage on defense and affect the quarterback and limit the running game, you put the other team behind the 8 ball and put them in situations where they're very uncomfortable and they have to play faster than they want to. I think offensively, if we can control the line of scrimmage and create clean pockets for Connor and create running lanes for our backs, I think that makes the game really easy and makes game flow really easy. And so I don't know that it's any more or less in the opener than it is every week. I think we've got to be a team that establishes the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, and I think in this one, certainly that'll play a huge role in dictating the outcome of the game for sure.
Back behind the lights on the right, Ben?
Coach, just want to ask about college game day coming to town, like what that means for you guys. You know, I know you're focused on the game, but kind of going off of that as well, I know you've talked about, you know, substance over style in terms of how you message your program out there. I wonder how you try to find the balance between, you know, still promoting and marketing your program to the, you know, the best you can, especially with an opportunity like this, while still, you know, not maybe getting into the superficial stuff and you know, staying on message, so to speak.
Yeah, I think you could market your program in substance. You know, I think if you look at what we're doing on social media right now, we've been significantly more active. There's been more posts. I think there's been more creative content going out. That's all intentional. I think marketing our program is something you have to do in this day and age of college football because your recruiting is still the lifeblood of what you're doing, and recruits live on social media. And so that's a very intentional piece of our program. I don't know that goes in line with substance. It's just what you're marketing and what we're marketing this program to be about. You know, and then when you have College Game Day coming to campus, I think you're talking about significant eyes turning to College Station. You know, they're going to see Aggie Park for the first time. You know, there's going to be millions of people looking at Kyle Field in their living room on Saturday morning as they get ready for the first weekend of college football. That's a tremendous opportunity for our program and for the marketing of our program. And so, I would never mistake us for not trying to market our program at a really high level. I just think you can market substance, and I think that's what we try to do.
Second row on the right, Carter, and then Travis.
Hey, Mike. I'm wondering how you assess Notre Dame's offensive line, and maybe there's a challenge evaluating a group that has 6 combined starts among them.
Yeah, I think about it probably a little different than you guys from this perspective. I just think, you know, Notre Dame has recruited offensive line really, really well for a really long time, and if they have young kids that have entered into the starting lineup, it probably means they're NFL draft picks. You know, and so when you say, you know, he's a freshman starting on the offensive line at Notre Dame, my gut would be, if you went back and researched that would end with he got drafted in the first round significantly more often than not. And so, you know, I think the 6 starts, you know, maybe is a concern for them to some degree just in the opener, but you know, I'm sure these young kids that they're putting out there for the first time are extremely talented, and that's why they've won the starting jobs that they've won. And so that's certainly how we're preparing. We're preparing for a typical Notre Dame offensive lineman that's going to be really big and really talented and try to control the line of scrimmage. I think they've been a finalist for the Joe Moore Award more than they haven't in the last 8 years. And so, I would just imagine they've got some really talented young kids playing.
Down front, Travis, you'll wrap us up.
Hey, Mike, coming out of fall camp, how healthy are you? Is there anybody you expect to miss or be limited other than Ruben?
No, I think Ruben's our only guy. I think everybody else was at practice this morning rolling, and a couple kids with nicks and bruises, but nothing that's holding them back or holding them out of practice. So, it was a really successful fall camp from that perspective.
And when you look at wide receivers, does it behoove an offense to have a guy who is the guy, the number one, or is it better to have it spread across, or does that not really matter when you look at that from wide receiver perspective?
I think it's obviously nice to have a guy who's a number one, because that means you've got a guy that commands attention. And you know, we'll find out Saturday night, but I believe we have that. And then if that guy commands attention, then that creates opportunities for other people. If they don't give him the respect he deserves or leave him more single cover, then he can take over a game. And I think that's the benefit of having a number one. But you need more than that. Because if it's just one and it's just one guy, that becomes a little bit too easy for teams to take away. And so, I think our wide receiver group is real excited to go out there Saturday night and kind of show what they've become. And so we're excited to watch them do it.